We have an echo. Good afternoon. This Committee of Adjustment meeting for the Township of Selwyn for Tuesday, May the 23rd, 2023 will come to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that. And we will go to our planner to announce the purpose of the meeting. Brandy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee of Adjustment is holding a public hearing in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, in order to consider 4 applications for relief of bylaw 2009-21, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the Township of Selwyn. The prescribed notices of the public meetings were provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the subject properties. Ministries and agencies were circulated via email. The subject properties were posted with a sign advertising the public hearings. The notices were also available on the Township's website. The notice of circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. If a specified person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public hearing or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn before the variance is granted, the person or public body may not be entitled to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn on the proposed minor variances, you must make written requests to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn, either by fax, email, or Dropbox. Our first application is application A1523 for the property at 2730 Newcomb Lane. The application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 18.2 meters to a dwelling to permit a dwelling addition, to increase the maximum lot coverage from 5% to 5.87% for all accessory structures to permit a new detached garage, as well to increase the maximum number of accessory structures permitted on a lot from 3 to 4 permitted to permit a new detached garage. This is in order to permit a 256.5 square foot dwelling addition and a new 981.1 square foot dwelling, detached garage. We did find this application does meet the 4 tests of the minor variance and recommend it for approval. We do find that if there is any soil disturbance, that an ARC assessment should be completed by the applicant prior to applying for building permits. We did receive agency comments from Peterborough Public Health advising that an application for a new septic system has been received and is under review. Hiawatha First Nation had submitted comments of no concern and also did comment that an ARC assessment should be is warranted should there be any soil disturbance. Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board submitted comments of no concern, and Autonomy Region Conservation Authority has submitted comments that an ORCA permit will be required for this project. We did receive public comments from Karen Chadwell at 2738 Newcomb Lane, advising that she has no concerns with this application. No further comments were received for this application.
Thank you very much. I understand that the agent, Holly Richards Conley, is on the line. Holly, do you have anything to add to this application?
Good afternoon, through you, the chair. I just wanted to add that we did get an archaeological assessment done last week and nothing of cultural significance was found.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else, Deputy Clerk, that is here to support or oppose this application?
There's no one else virtually here to support or oppose this application.
Okay, is there anyone here in person to support and could you go to the mic, give your name and your address? This is for 2730 Newcomb Lane.
No, my name is Susan Lang and that's my husband, Jeff, and we are the owners of the property.
Okay,
yes,
is there anything else you'd like to wish to add to what the that Brandy has given us in her report?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for attending. Is there anyone that is, there was no one in opposition, so I'll bring it to committee. Is there any questions or comments? So just for the public, we deal with all of these, then we pass one motion at the end. We now will go on to the next file, A1623.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Application A1623 is for the property at 193 Arnott Drive. This application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 24.6 meters to a dwelling, to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 20.2 meters to an open deck, to reduce the front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 7.2 meters to an accessory structure, being the garage, to reduce the setback from the center line of Township Road, which is Arnott Drive, from 17.5 meters to 17.2 meters to an accessory structure, as well to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure from 6 meters to 7.6 meters. This is in order to permit a new 2,260 square foot dwelling, including a front porch, a new 36.5 square meter open deck, and a new 676 square foot detached garage. We have found that this application does meet the forecast of the minor variance and recommended for approval. Should there be any soil disturbance, an ARC assessment is warranted for this project. We did receive agency comments from the Peterborough Public Health, advising that an application for new septic system has been received and can be approved with the approval of the minor variance application. Hiawatha First Nation has submitted comments regarding the concern for archaeological resources, so an ARC assessment is warranted. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board has submitted comments of no concern, and the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority has submitted comments that an ORCA permit will be required for this project. No public comments were received for this application, and no further comments received to date.
Thank you very much. I understand that the owner, Kevin Noonan, is here virtually. Is there anything you wish to add to Brandy's report? You may be muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we did have an ARC assessment done. So far verbally, nothing of significance was found. Yeah, anything to add to that, Mark?
We have the ORCA permit.
Oh, and we have the ORCA permit apparently, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Was there anyone, Deputy Clerk, that is registered to speak against this application?
We have no one else here virtually for this application, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to A1723, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Application A1723 is for the property at 2692 Westview Road. The application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 10.8 meters to a dwelling, as well to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 9.05 meters to an open deck. This is in order to permit a 1,338 square foot dwelling with a 104 square foot open deck. We have found that this application does meet the 4 tests of the minor variance and recommended for approval. As well, if there is any soil disturbance, an ARC assessment is warranted. Agency comments were received from Peterborough Public Health, advising that a renovation application needs to be submitted by the applicant. Hiawatha First Nation has submitted comments regarding concerns for an archaeological assessment as well. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board has submitted comments of no concern, and Autonomy Region Conservation Authority has submitted comments that an ORCA permit will be required for this project. We did receive 2 public comments following the preparation of the planning report. The comments were received from James and Janet Wolf at 2688 Westview Road, advising they are not in support of the application, as they do not want to see any variation from the bylaw, as well as comments were received from Penny and Liz Resnell at 2694 Westview Road, with concern about variance from the high water setback and building outside the existing footprint. No further comments were received for this application.
Right. Thank you very much. Is the owner, John and Lori Power, in attendance?
Yes.
Okay, you're here virtually. Is there anything you wish to add to this application?
No.
All right, thank you very much. And is there anyone else in favor of this application? You're in favor? Could I have I want one of you to go to the mic and give your name and your address, please.
My name's Mike Forth. My address is 56 Ranny Street in Campbellford. I'm acting on behalf of Corth Lakes Construction as the agent for John and Lori Power on this case.
All right. Is there anything you wish to add to the report that's been given?
Maybe just to address some of the concerns from neighbors because of the flood contour on the property. Building within the existing footprint, unfortunately, would be quite impossible without just renovating the interior. So we've gone through as many of tests as possible through the variance process to ensure that we're adhering to everything we can to make it possible for John and Lori to develop on their property. So
okay, so we may come back to you if we have some questions.
We are open for questions.
All right. And is there anyone here that is in opposition to this application? I understand. Is there anyone online, Deputy Clerk?
There's no one else here online for this application.
But there is someone can you please go to the mic, give your name and your address?
Hi there, Penny Rezel, 2694 Westview Road. We're in opposition basically because the footprint is being extended well beyond where it is. The 10 point whatever meter setback is really close. That seems to be quite close to the waterfront. And I believe the statistics were showing on the side lot line that it was going from 2.2 meters to 3.6 something meters. That's actually just a small deck that's 2.2 meters to the lot line. The existing cottage is 4.75 meters. So I'd like to know where exactly it's going to end as it's going 20 or 25 feet forward, where it's going to end to our property line.
Okay, so would you, Brandy, if you'd like to respond?
Through your worship. I'll take that question.
Thank you, Per.
So as per site plan that was forwarded to Penny, the new existing or the new proposed cottage to be 3.66 meters from the side yard property line. With regard to the existing, the statistics show always when it deals with front yard and side yard setbacks, the nearest point of the dwelling and the nearest point of the dwelling is the deck, the side yard deck. So that's the statistics with regard to that. But just to confirm, yeah, the setback to the new dwelling from the north property line is 3.66 meters as per the site plan supplied to the township.
Thank you.
So even though the side deck is like a tiny little portion of the dwelling, that's considered the whole structure.
Through your worship, yeah, that would be correct. Yeah, regardless.
Okay. It's going to 3.66 is the answer.
And for Penny, the side yard setback requirement of the Lakeshore residential zone is 3 meters, and at 3.66 meters, the new dwelling is complying with that.
Up to 10 now, but up to 10 meters towards the high water mark, 10 point whatever 8, because it's being extended 25 feet.
So,
Ms. Rezo,
Sorry,
we're not going to have a debate here. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So through your worship, through clarification regarding the setback, as committee is well aware, the nearest point that any new dwelling can encroach into the water yard to the high water mark is as per the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is at 10.8, and the new dwelling, although it's not on the same footprint, is adhering to that same footprint or that same setback of 10.8 meters.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that was opposed to this application? No. All right. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I think we will deal with A1523, 1623, 1723 with the motion to approve? Moved by Councillor Koulis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to A 1423, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Application A 1423 is for the property at 2540 Fire Route 37. The application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to approximately 12 meters to an open deck. This application is in order to permit a 156 square foot open deck, uncovered addition. According to MPAC data, township records, the existing residence located on the property was built in 1967. Township records indicate the cottage on the subject lands was constructed under township permit number 23/1967. A copy of the permit number 23/1967 is not available, unfortunately. We have found that this application does not meet the 4 tests of the minor variance. In that case, we cannot recommend the application for approval. Agency comments were received from the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority, advising that they are not in support of the application. Fourth of Pine Ridge District School Board comments no concern. Hiawatha First Nation submitted comments regarding concern for archaeological resources, and Peterborough Public Health had submitted comments of no objection. Complete comments received from these agencies are attached in the report provided to the committee. We did not receive any public comments for this application. No further comments.
Right, thank you very much. So I understand the agent, Riley Martins, is attending virtually. Do you have anything to add to this report, sir?
I don't really have anything to add. I just think that we have some sort of similar requests as the previous minor variance with respect to keeping the existing setback that's there and not getting any closer. So I'll just be interested to see how both those pan out.
Would you like to respond, Randy? Or Per, sorry.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Could they rephrase the question?
Can you please repeat it?
There was no question asked.
Oh, okay. All right. And there, I understand there's an ORCA representative on the line, Matt Wilkinson. Is there anything you wish to add, sir?
No, just to clarify, we noted that the new development was within the flooding hazard, and that's why we didn't recommend it.
All right. And is there, I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions with regards to this application? Seeing none, then I need a motion to deny. Moved by Councillor Koulis, seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We have no deferred matters and new business, no correspondence or minutes of our last Committee of Adjustment meeting of April the 25th, 2023. I need a mover. Councillor Henry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is June the 27th. Councillor Boyko and Councillor Henry, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Our council meeting will begin in 4 minutes. Thank you. Give them back to me after. I haven't signed them. Okay, we okay, Tanya? Good afternoon. This Township of Selwyn regular council meeting of Tuesday, May the 23rd, 2023 will come to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Let's please observe a moment of silence so the council staff and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, please note that in the minutes. Our minutes of May the 9th, 2023 are before us. I need a motion to adopt them. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, moved by Councillor Boyko, seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion out of the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first deputation. And we have a staff introduction. Who's making? We're hearing from Lee.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just a few words for me. It's great to be able to welcome Jonathan Lloyd, who's our new IT support specialist, to the team. And he's started last week, and he's had a chance to work with Michelle for a bit. So I can just turn it over to Michelle and to do some formal introductions.
Thanks, Lane. Yeah, really happy to welcome Jonathan to Selwyn. As Lane mentioned, John's first week was last week, and we've been working at getting him up to speed on all things IT. His experience and background have already come in really handy, and John's really hit the ground running. So he's going to make a great addition. So welcome, John. If you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, very excited to be here and looking forward to working with everyone. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. We know we can come to both of you if we have any problems with our phones and computers. Glad to know you're there. Thank you.
Great.
And welcome again.
Thank you.
We're going to go up and monitor upstairs.
Okay. All right. So we now have Miguel Hernandez, the president of Lakefield Minor Hockey Association. If you'd like to go to the mic back there, please, and speak into it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having us. So my name is Miguel Hernandez. I am the new appointed president of Lakefield Minor Hockey. This is Rajan. She is publicity director. So we just wanted to kind of voice our new voice that we have at the association. It's no secret that the last couple of years, Lakefield Minor Hockey has struggled, but there is a bit of a resurgence. So we have a brand new board. We've added a whole bunch of new positions like sponsorship, fundraising, social media publicity, as well as we've added an extra vice president. So we have a really strong board now. The majority of us are parents. Some of us are coaches, coaching staff, and volunteers with the association. So we wanted just to bring to light why we're here. We have a vision to bring Lakefield Minor Hockey back to the mecca that it once was. Growing up myself, I'm 42, but in my young years and then into my teens, I struggled to make any A-team because we had so many applicants and so many registrants, and it was so strong and sought after. that it was just an unbelievable program to be a part of. Fast forward to now, not so much. So we are climbing out of that. This year, the previous board worked really hard to go from almost obsolete to break even. And we saw a profit this year that we were going to put back into the association, obviously. That's good that we have a new IT person, right? And so come together the board to carry on the great work that the previous executive did to keep us afloat and relevant is that we see a lot of ambition and a light at the end of the tunnel. So our 3-year initiative right now, we're averaging about 150 registrants. About 5 years ago, it was averaging 180. In the early 2000s, we were breaking 300. We want a 3-year plan of making sure that we get back to that 300 registrants and really get Lakefield Minor Hockey thriving again. I think from a resident of Lakefield, I think it's important to make sure that we're bringing value to our residents in recreational sports. I myself reside with 3 kids and I invest in recreational sports. And I feel like this is why I'm volunteering in both baseball and hockey, is that I think that we need volunteers. So far as Lakefield seems to be getting a little younger, we have a lot of active parents and we are all sharing that vision. So the first year we have implemented a ton of community events. I have rekindled the relationship, if there ever even was one, with the LCS. We're going to start a ball hockey league this summer. We're going to butt it up to the hockey season. So we make sure that in a fun way, we are getting aerobic exercise into our children so that they are in better shape when they're starting. But more importantly, we're starting that community partnership and making us become more aware and relevant. The Lakefield College School is going to provide the facility for this fun recreational league, which will be very minimal cost to whoever participates. We have initiated, we're going to try and start a golf tournament, annual golf tournament. We have partnered up with Casey's Crease, and Colin is going to start becoming our mentorship kind of consultant and instructor for goaltending, which is very sought after, and very few associations actually invest in that. We see a value in that to try and bring our goaltending up and really kind of anchor our teams out there, which is a very important position. So we're going to invest in that. And then we have all sorts of other things going on in the works, like a partnership with the Peterborough Petes. We take advantage of their marketing day where we will purchase a fundraising night. We did this last year as a pilot. This year, we're going to go full bore with it. If we sell enough seats, they allocate 500 to us if we can break that 500 mark, which they give us a very good break on. And I think we can, because last year, without even trying, we did 250. They will give us a day with the Petes. So we want to bring that back to Lakefield and do a hockey day in Lakefield with the Peterborough Petes, and maybe do a fun outdoor ball hockey day, have signings, have them involved, and so on. So you can see that there's a lot of activity, and we wanted just to come today and let you know that we're still here, that we appreciate everything that Selwyn has done to date. And we hope that you recognize that it's a very valuable asset for the township. And I think that it should be at the forefront of everybody's minds in terms of getting those numbers up, bringing the association back to what it once was, which was really the most sought after association in Peterborough County. We lost a lot of players back in the day to AAA hockey, which is the best compliment you can get. And I hope that we do that again.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you to you and your team for stepping up. And it's no doubt that the pandemic affected sports just as much as it has everything else, with people holding back and not getting involved. And it takes a little bit of time to ramp up again. I don't know if there are any questions from council with regards, Councillor Boyko.
Thank you through you, Mayor Senes. Thank you, Miguel, for your presentation. You and I have spoken on the phone about this. So
correct.
You know that I am an avid supporter of minor hockey. I'm an avid supporter of all minor sports. Anything that gets kids playing and in teams and outside and away from and into arenas and into ball yards and soccer pitches, anywhere where they're without a screen in front of them is a good thing. And so I thank you and all of the other volunteers that have done this. I grew up, my brothers and I playing minor hockey in Peterborough back in the day when there was the City League and the Church League, and they eventually amalgamated, of course, into one, and made each of them stronger with the stronger one, the stronger organization. The question that I have, and in this in no way is it critical of anything that you've done in the past and the incredible vision that you've got going forward. But has there been consideration to any of the cost benefits that would be involved in amalgamating Ennismore and Lakefield minor hockey into one, the Selwyn Minor Hockey Association? Have there been conversations or considerations?
So that's a great question, John. And I've definitely reached out to the new president of Ennismore Hockey, Bill Young. I know him. He actually insulated my house when I did my renovation, but they are definitely willing to have a meeting. It's funny, if you had to ask the executive probably 4 months ago, we would have been chomping at the bit. I think we still want to cautiously amalgamate and do it right, but we have to be wary of being part of OMHA and realigning our borders. Will we lose our townships and cities and little hamlets to the north, and they will have to go elsewhere? That will be for OMHA to decide. We have applied to leave OMHA hockey, our league, and move over to the Victor Durham League, which will make us a little bit more competitive, which I feel will bring more registrants. But yes, it's definitely on the table. They've reached out. It was part of their AGM agenda to reach out to Lakefield and say, we need to do something. Why do we have two associations in one township? Mm-hmm. Mike and I share that vision as well. I think if we get our numbers to where I believe they can be, and they're coming, we have the highest registration to date. Our early bird ends at the end of June. Normally we'd have 15 or 16 registrants by this time. We've already broken the 60 mark. So there is a lot of buzz. Last year was an incredible year with our younger groups from about U7 to U11. We've never had reviews like that before, especially with our young core from the U7 to the U9, which is the future of our association, to be honest. So they're coming strong and quickly, and other associations starting to take notice. And I think that's why Ennismore is very eager to have a conversation, because I think they share everybody's mindset now. It was a thing, the rivalry was a thing of the past, I think. Like, why do we have one township and two hockey associations? I don't understand that. And I've been asking that since day one. What I don't want to do is to recreate our borders and have towns like Apsley and Curve Lake and all of those border towns be lost in limbo and have to travel to Bancroft now to find their minor hockey. But I think there's ways around that. If we get to 300 and all of a sudden Ennismore has 300 plus like they do every year, that's 600 registrants in one township. We're gonna be very strong, successful. We're gonna start to force the idea of maybe creating another building, and I would love that to be on the table. I think we can support it. I think, especially now with both executives and both townships being so strong and focused on growing the sport. And then with all of the support out there outside of associations that get kids into hockey that may not be able to afford it, I think it's going to be a really good thing in the next couple of years. And I think there's going to be a lot more conversations that stem from today.
Excellent. Thank you. And I know I speak for all of council saying thank you so much for your work and all of the volunteers that work in minor hockey. You do terrific work for a number of kids in our community. Thank you.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested in a golf tournament, just reach out to me. We have about 40 seats left.
I have a question from Deputy Mayor Black.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you through you, Mayor Sennis. Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Miguel. It's always great to hear that volunteers are active in the community. I coached in the girls in Peterborough and the boys at nationals and a little coaching in Ennismore actually when my son moved from nationals to midget hockey there to finish his minor hockey. It's also great to hear that you're focusing also on low cost programs for kids. Anybody that's had a kid in minor hockey or played at the higher competitive levels, there's buses to pay for, and it really is limiting for a lot of young families to have their kids get into hockey because they know at some point if they're good, it's going to cost a lot of money. So having those other activities, such as your ball hockey program and your thing with LCS, I think is a great idea to also grow some more interest in getting kids started in hockey. The interesting thing about Lakefield is the demographic. When you look at it, the two largest demographics are obviously seniors, but the second largest is young families because housing is a little bit cheaper in the county. And so unfortunately, a lot of those families end up moving into the city once their kids need to go to high school or they get better jobs as their career grows. But there is a lot of growth in young families in Lakefield, and Lakefield South, as it comes online, I'm sure will attract more young families. Hopefully there's more homes there being built that are starter homes that young families can afford to get into. So I see some growth there. But I also, went through the church league, city league thing in Peterborough with my kids, and I think the amalgamate is successful. All the rep teams are great, and I really would support the two organizations at their will getting together and talking about it further, because I think Selwyn can have teams that could play against Peterborough teams.
100%.
600 players, you'd create an A team that would play in the AA or the A loop with the city of Peterborough, which would be fantastic for our kids.
That would be unbelievable. I would love to get there.
Congratulations on all your hard work and your forethought to move the organization forward. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And just a little footnote, we made the tough decision as a group. I really want to speak on behalf of my executive.
Yeah.
Is that we have a really strong team and we work well together and we have great meetings so far. We've only had a couple, but I feel like we really gel well. And 90% of us are parents of the association, which I think is really important because we're invested. But we made the tough decision to keep registration fees the same as last year, which was really tough. And we were going to grow our revenue by growing our numbers, not by raising prices. And a little footnote is that we're the cheapest program in all of Peterborough County. When the year ends, our parents have spent less than Douro, Ennismore, Peterborough, Apsley. Just to throw that out there, and everybody else raised the prices. We did not. We kept it down, and we decided as a team that we were going to do other things like tournaments and other revenue streams to try and grow that dollar. But I feel like just by doubling our numbers, it's just naturally going to grow itself, and we can reinvest.
Bravo to you. I have a question from Councillor Koulis.
Of course.
Through you. It's more of a comment because we're just, stretched on time here. One thing in the layout that was presented to us and what you were going to talk about, and I think if you're going to possibly come back to us in a year or two to tell us about how your policy and your approach is being changed and what you've seen, where does ice allocation policy fall into this? Because if you increase your numbers, you're going to need more ice time, and we're already stuck with the ice time. And I know the Ennismore League is spending over 20 grand to go elsewhere for ice time. So what does that look like for us, and how can we help you? Those are the questions we need to think about with increased numbers.
That's a great question. And so I asked this of my previous executive, and there is ice time on the table if we allocate it to Lakefield hockey. Because we've had such low numbers, we were able to sell back ice. We were able to not put our name down on certain hours. Now those hours may not be, Thursdays at 7:00, right? They might be Saturdays at 8 a.m., but so be it. If the parents are asking for more ice time and the numbers are growing, they're not going to say no. And we're going to take a crack at those hours that we were originally not putting our names on. Mike and Amy and myself and the new scheduler, Nicole Conroy, will be meeting next week, I think, to kind of go over that and see what it looks like before your summer break. But what we want to do is make sure we grab every minute of every ice time that we can. And something that I've challenged our rep team is that you're to take on a second practice, because the biggest thing that I forgot to mention is that we're focused on development. Development is our mission, growing and developing and giving our parents an ROI on their investment is huge. And they see that as, are their kids growing and having fun? And are they a better hockey player than they were last year? I myself have been coaching for years and improving kids' skill sets. And I truly believe that if we improve the skill set, we'll improve our numbers and we'll have to challenge the township for more ice. But right now, as it stands for this coming season, I truly believe that there's enough ice to fulfill our growing numbers. And Mike and Amy might tell me different, but as of right now, I feel like we sold back some ice, and there were some hours there already that the Lakeville College School was able to take advantage of just because it was not being used. And that's kind of that's my answer to that one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just one more.
Yeah.
A brief one, and it goes back to ice. And again, I talked about the old days. I remember 6 o'clock in the morning practices on Thursday at the Keene Arena. So it's it's always been a problem. Through you, Mayor, to Mike, perhaps you could remind us of the pricing and the break that we give to minor hockey associations, and as part of what we do as a township to help minor hockey.
Through you, Councillor Boyko. Right now, through the access to recreation, there is a subsidy for every hour, so that it takes it up to the prime time ice, and it's about $57 per hour difference. If tax in primetime adult ice rate is $2.18 or $2. I actually didn't print that off. I apologize. It's in that ballpark. They're $165, $160.
Right. Yeah. So minor hockey gets a break from what the regular rates would be.
Yeah, through a taxation or a transfer, so that the arena department gets credited for the full amount.
Right.
And then that minor sport subsidy comes out at the end of every fiscal year.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. And I can remember my dad getting up with my brothers for 5 o'clock in the morning practice. So yeah, sometimes we may think that, we all want 8 o'clock in the morning, but there are other times that the ice is free. So may have to set the alarm clock a little earlier. Anyway, thank you very much for coming.
For you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, just 1 second.
Yeah.
The ice is never free. The ice might be available.
Free of use, I think.
Point taken. Yeah, I should have said available. Anyway, thank you very much for coming and introducing yourself, and look forward to what is to come.
Thank you very much for having us. And if anybody ever has any questions, all of our contact information is on the website. I'm pretty approachable and easy to get a hold of. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We will now move on to our next deputation, Michael Chappell of the Lakefield Historical Society.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The good news is we don't need any ice time. So we previously provided some documentation to council, but just to outline what we're doing, and this is a partnership between Lakefield Historical Society and the Lakefield Legion. So Jim Marston is here, the president of Lakefield Legion, along with me. Many years ago, there was a sign in the Cenotaph Park that listed the veterans that had volunteered from Lakefield. And it was there for many years. I remember it as a boy myself, walking past it. They were fairly common in those days. It wasn't just Lakefield, but a number of places had them. Sometime around the mid-70s, when the sewers were put in, the sign was taken down. And at that time, it was in poor condition. and it wasn't replaced. I think there was sort of an ambivalence at that time. A lot of the Legion members were still alive, and they didn't feel that their contribution was the same as the people who actually had given their lives for the country. Now that most of them are gone, society sort of sees that in a different way, and we'd like to memorialize their efforts with a permanent stone marker. And I have been talking to Mike Richardson about this. We've been out. There is space in the Cenotaph Park right on one of the old flag foundations, which is serving no purpose at the moment, but we believe it can be rehabilitated as a foundation for a stone marker. So the original sign had 219 names on it. Some of those names that are missing are women, and we'd like to add the women that were not included when the sign was originally erected. There's also likely a few people that were missed, and we want to make sure that those people are also added. So I'm expecting that this monument will eventually list about probably 230 to 240 people on both sides. So it's split half and half. The monument that we're proposing will cost just over $28,000. We started fundraising in February of this year. And with the pending donation from the Poppy Fund, which Jim assures me will come shortly, we've raised about $12,500 at the moment. So we feel confident that by 2024, we will have raised enough money to put the monument in place. Now, part of our problem in doing this is we need to have the foundation widened in order to accommodate this monument. I had some brief discussions with Mike about that, and certainly the township has made no commitments in this regard, but we hope that township staff has both the skills and expertise to do that as part of someone's contribution towards this effort. Additionally, when we're raising money, since neither the Legion or the Lakeville Historical Society is a charity, we can't issue charitable receipts. And that does have an impact with some people. Some people give regardless, but some people would like that charitable receipt. And we've heard rumors that there may be a way that the township might be able to facilitate providing a charitable receipt by some sort of flow-through arrangement. And we would hope that that is the case. And lastly, of course, if the township sees fit, if there's a financial contribution that the town would consider making towards us, we're certainly open to that possibility. And I don't want to say that it's dependent on the township making that contribution. We will raise the funds in any case. But as a community, I think it's important that we send a message that we're unified in the support for our veteran population. And it's not just about Lakefield, of course. Many small communities within the current township of Selwyn have their own monuments. Curve Lake has one, Bridge North has one, Buckhorn has one. And we're certainly no more important than they are, but we're the biggest population center. And so we would like to represent that with an appropriate monument, much as Bridge North did recently with theirs. So other than questions, I think that's basically all I have to say, unless Jim, if you've got anything to say? No. Okay.
All right. Well, we do have a recommendation, and I'd like you to stay to hear what that recommendation is that council will consider. I appreciate what you're trying to do. And actually, Ennismore has a monument as well. So that wasn't mentioned when you were listing. And they are part of Selwyn. So if we can move on to Mike Richardson's report, the indulgence of council. All right, so Mike.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Briefly in the report, we're looking for council's endorsement of the placement of the World War II monument as Mr. Chappell has gone through. That there be an in-kind contribution to help complete the site preparation, the pad expansion and landscaping. And then that staff be directed to accept donations, issue receipts under the township's official receipts policy, and thereafter grant all collected funds to the Lakefield Historical Society until the monument creation project is completed And similar to what we did with another project, we put an end date to it just so that there was an actual cutoff. And we were suggesting, similar to the timeline that Mr. Chappell had suggested, use December 31st, 2024 as a cutoff. And as it says below, the amount of $28,176.55 is what is being projected. And then the other items are listed as bullet points in there. So
Okay.
if council have any questions.
All right. Are there any questions of Mike? Councillor Boyko.
Not a question of Mike. Mike and I have spoken about this project a couple of times, and he knows that I am in fully support of it. I guess my question through you, Madam Chair, is to this Mike. And
that's why I was going with Chappell.
There you go. And so I know that you and I have had this discussion too, and the Lakefield Horticultural Society has brought up this point, and so I just want to emphasize. Will the Lakefield Horticultural Society be consulted with respect to the placement of the monument in the park?
Yeah, and I think unfortunately there was some bad timing there because during the first misunderstanding, because they met on site with us, and I think it was all about timing. They were very happy with using the base closest to the library. That way there are no sight lines that are going to interfere. It gives room for people to enjoy it, and for grass cutting and all of those things, it helps us the most. And when they found out it's only 3 feet, I think it's 36 or 40 inches. Like it's yeah. Yeah, so your sight lines for the gardens, for those sorts of things aren't impaired in any way. You'd have to be in the library for it to impair that at all, and then you'd be above it anyways. So yes, they've met on site with us a couple times, and that was the one. Initially, they said if it's going to be one, this is the spot to put it, and then eventually they came around and said no, that's something that would look very nice, especially because not just the placement but also the orientation of it.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I think this is a wonderful project, and we want to remember our veterans from past wars, and it's a wonderful way of showcasing who those veterans are. So I would look for someone to move the recommendation. Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Boyko. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. All right. Were there any questions sent in for question period? No. We'll move on to our municipal officers and staff reports. Per Lundberg has a report on the draft provincial planning statement.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try to be brief. I understand prior to today's meeting, council had some concerns regarding the recommendation in the report as I originally drafted it. So we've prepared something a little clearer. So my goal here is I'll just briefly go through my report and then go through the recommendation, then we'll leave it for questions after that. So the province is proposing a new provincial planning statement, as they're calling it, which will replace what is now called the provincial policy statement, as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. This new document will basically combine those two documents into a new provincial planning document. So this was released on April 6th for a 60-day commenting period, which comes up on June 5th, 2023, which is why we're presenting this document to council today to get your endorsement to submit some comments for that public posting. The importance of this document is that under the Planning Act, the planning authority's decisions on any matters relating or any decisions relating to a planning matter have to be consistent with this particular document. So it does have quite a bit of relevance to planners as well as the planning authorities making decisions on any planning applications. So the highlights of the new document as it relates to some of the changes in policy as highlighted in my report, include more flexible policies regarding creation of settlement areas and completing settlement area boundary adjustments. The growth plan had mandatory targets for density, as well as the need to identify what were called built-up areas and greenfield areas within settlement areas. That requirement is removed with the repeal of the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. With growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, which will make generally long-range planning quite a bit easier at the local level. Multi-lot residential lot creation is also proposed to be permitted, which it's currently not and hasn't been for about 20 years. This is in rural areas. There's a new policy to allow for the creation of 3 new lots in prime agricultural areas. And the 3 new lots would be created as of January 1st, 2023. So once you create your 3 lots after January 2023, you wouldn't be permitted to create any more. This is specifically for agricultural areas. There's also some new policies that clarify that additional units as permitted elsewhere, like in settlement areas and in rural areas. The policy also contains clarification that they are also permitted in prime agricultural areas. This isn't lots, this is additional units, like say within your dwelling or on the same parcel. The provincially mandated agricultural system and natural heritage systems are proposed to be repealed because those were specifically policy guidance under the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And there's no new natural heritage policies available for review as of today's date. The province hasn't released any of the new natural heritage feature policies that will be part of the final provincial planning statement once it's released and put into effect. Based on some documentation from the province, the suspected or the contemplated release date for this document to come into effect is sometime in the fall of this year. So the recommendation from staff as we've recrafted it is that the report regarding the draft provincial policy statement be received for information, and that Selwyn staff, that Selwyn Township staff support and endorse the county staff report, PPW 2023-13 on the draft provincial planning statement as presented to council on May 17th, 2023, with the exception of the county staff position related to section 4.3.3, and 4.3.3 deals with prime agricultural areas, the severances I mentioned. So what we are proposing for that is that Selwyn Township advise the province that it does not support section 4.33 of the proposed new PPS that would permit 3 severances on any agricultural lands, and that Selwyn staff advise the province that it does support the provision in the new PPS that provides municipalities the ability to conduct its own mapping exercise to permit local discretion to identify productive agricultural lands versus non-productive lands that would support severances for housing development, and that the province provides financial supports and other resources to conduct this mapping exercise. And following the results of the mapping exercise, that appropriate severance policies be developed by municipalities based on this mapping. And in addition to the county's report, we also had 2 further recommendations that were not addressed in the county report, and that be that that we support or that we recommend that there be further policies developed in regard to rural employment lands. In my opinion, there's a sort of a lack of clear policy on permissions for industrial uses in rural areas, and township staff would support provincial policy that allows for rural industrial uses based on appropriate locations and rural servicing levels, right? So obviously there's limitations with regard to water and sewer capacity, so you have to have appropriate type of industrial uses for our municipal services, and in consideration of land use conflicts as well. So yeah, there needs to be policies gearing these types of sites to appropriate locations, and that also there be appropriate severances, or sorry, there be appropriate policies in regard to water and wastewater capacities within our settlement area, The province is proposing it be tied to municipalities maintaining a 3-year supply of water and sewer capacity, which is inconsistent with the currently in effect assessment methods that are used by the Ministry of Environment, which are more tied to percentage capacity. So the percentage capacities that Adam would look at would be like when you reach 80% capacity of your systems, then you start planning for upgrades, and that 90%, you then start constructing your additional capacity, right? So we don't want to create additional assessment methodology for determining when upgrades are needed. We feel that, keep this streamlined, keep it simple. Let's keep it with the existing assessment methodologies, and that's why we're recommending that particular policy change. And then obviously following that, we recommend that we submit our comments to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs through the ERO website and our local MPP. And that would be my comments. If there's any further questions, happy to take those.
Okay, before I go to my colleagues, I'm going to make the same statement I made at county. In Selwyn, probably the most requested of me all the time I've been on council for 17 years is the ability to sever a lot. And Selwyn has had the most prohibitive rules when it relates to severances of any other township in the county. So there's a pent-up demand. In this particular report that we spoke to with the 433, it doesn't differentiate between viable prime agricultural land and land that you can't grow anything on. So I think it's important, and there's been confusion even with with what we agreed to at the county in the media. We did not support the 4.33 because to us, if we did support that, which was do not support, then we would be saying no to severances. And we don't want to say no to severances. There are places in our township where severances could occur. So I will now pass it on to my colleagues to make comment on the recommendation that's now before us. And I'll go first to Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Senes. I just want to support Mayor Senes on her comments that what happened at County Council. The motion, the recommendation from staff was to receive the whole report. That was lost on a vote, and I actually made the motion moving forward, which was represented in the letter that came from Sheridan, our CAO at the county, which did support the report with the exception of 4.33. Again, because it was too broad, it would have included severances on properties that really are zoned agricultural, but really are not used for that purpose. So, Selwyn Township is in the Canadian Shield, and we have some good farmland, but we also have some farmland that the only thing that it grows every spring is rocks. So those pieces of land, I feel should be available for development. The land is available. And in talking to folks about severances, and as the mayor has mentioned, I get lots of questions around severances too. It's an opportunity to even provide some affordable land to family members of farmers, that sort of thing, where they can actually gift it or sell it to a family member to help them be able to get their first house. So in some ways, it does support development of affordable housing. The other challenge that we have in Selwyn Township is we have had a double-digit increase in the number of residents coming into the area. Unfortunately, that hasn't translated into increased assessment. And we've been very fortunate over the years to have a very low tax rate. And that's partially because we have a lot of seasonal residents who don't use services and so on, but pay some of the highest taxes in the township, actually. So That's changing. Those folks are going to start demand services, and we need new assessment to help pay for those services. As the mayor has mentioned, we've had a very prescriptive policy around severances here in the township. Most other townships in the county have allowed at least 2 severances in the past, and we've only ever allowed 1. So for that reason, I support the future use of this act to create severances. The other issue that came up publicly was the issue of the MDS, the minimum distance separation for farmers who want to do something different with their farms. In most cases, the individuals that are going to apply for these severances are those farmers. So if they have a plan down the road to build a new barn or so on, they would have to cite those severances in the location that didn't affect their future use of that land. So I think it is a consideration, but I think for the most part, the people applying are the people that are going to be affected. So I think that will somewhat take care of itself. So I will make some recommendations around changing the staff report as well, because I think the second item in the staff report says we do not support severances. Again, I'm not sure if that was worded correctly, but it says we do not support section 4.33, which means not supporting any kind of severances. Is that the way it was meant?
Well, I think you have to read the whole thing. So the intention here with this recommendation is to say that no, we do not support the provision that would allow 3 severances on any agricultural land. We go on to say there in the PPS, there now is the ability for the municipality to have some influence on what that agricultural mapping would look like. And then we want the province's support to use that authority to develop mapping, which identifies the viable agricultural lands. You'd probably have 1 severance policy on the viable lands, which would be more restrictive, but then identify those lands that are not the viable agricultural lands. And you could provide for a more robust severance opportunity on those types of lands. So if you follow all the way through, that's the intention of this resolution.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately,
I
it
think
wasn't clear to me, so I'm not sure it's going to be clear to other folks.
Something from Pear.
Sorry, Per.
If I might interject a little bit, just some clarification in regard to the current situation in regard to severances. In our prime agricultural areas right now, the only type of severance that is permitted is what's called a surplus farm residence as a result of farm consolidation. This is specifically for prime agricultural areas. There's a different severance policy related to rural areas. So that's where your description of what you're talking about, where we allow only 1 severance post January 1st, 1978, with the remnant parcel being a minimum of 20 hectares, which is quite restrictive compared to, like, as you mentioned, the other municipalities. In our proposed new official plan for rural areas, the draft official plan proposes 2 severances every 15 years. So that there is a difference between rural areas and prime agricultural areas. Prime agricultural areas are areas that are captured by Canada Land Inventory 1 to 3 soils, which are your most productive, as well as any farmlands that are in agricultural production. So class 4 to 7 soils that are being used for farmland that, you can see through aerial photography and local knowledge that are actually in farm use would also be considered prime agricultural areas under the definitions on the provincial policy statement. So I hope that lends a little bit of clarification in regard to the direction on rural versus prime agricultural areas.
Follow up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for that, Per. Yeah, I did kind of understand that, but it is complicated for the average person. But I did understand that, and even at county, I said, I'm not sure 3 is the number, maybe 2 is the number, that sort of thing. But I think there has to be the flexibility built into it for local councils to make that. So I'm not sure the statement, paragraph 2, that says the Selwyn Township advised the policy does not support. I'm not sure that even needs to be in there, because it's really covered in the first paragraph, and I think it is confusing. I understand what you're saying, that the other paragraphs follow, but I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah, I think that's why we kind of cleaned it up a little bit so that it was more clear. If you don't make that comment on section 4.33 though, I think the province is going to interpret that as, yep, you agree there should be 3 severances on any agricultural land. And I don't believe that's your intention.
If I can just interject, maybe if we were to add on any prime agricultural lands, it would make it more clear.
On any prime, yeah.
Yeah, so right now, the way it reads, it's any agricultural land. So we're just
I
saying we
know.
don't think it should be on any agricultural land. We think you should help us to use our ability now, the authority to develop mapping that identifies the prime agricultural land versus the rural lands, just use those terms. And then we could develop our own policies around each that appropriately reflects, the value of our agricultural land. We want to protect it. But the other areas, we think there's the ability for some severances.
So sorry, I can follow up through you, Mayor. So it follows, I understand what you're saying. Now, it wasn't clear when you read individually the pieces. And again, it's going to come together. The other piece that in the third paragraph, one of the other recommendations that came through at the county was using existing soil classifications. And using existing soil classifications, I'd like to see that added to paragraph 3.
After the word development.
Yeah, development and using existing soil classifications. Again, that was the purpose of at the county, everybody at the county made it very clear. Nobody supports severances on prime agricultural land.
Yeah.
But we want it based on soil classifications and the ability of the municipality to make those decisions. And then between the second last and last paragraph, the county also brought forward the issue of natural heritage. So we could also include their consideration to removing the broad brush approach to natural heritage mapping that allows for more local autonomy. So it was the second bullet from the letter from Sheridan. We could include that in there.
Yeah, and I don't know, and Per may want to comment on this, but I know that when the natural heritage mapping first came out, the county made a recommendation, or it was actually a request, I think, that the province actually allow us to use the Kawartha naturally connected mapping, which was much more, there was more ground truthing, more local knowledge included in that process. So I don't know whether you would actually want to refer to not using that broad brush approach and consider something like the Kawartha naturally connected mapping. It just gives them something that maybe they could latch on to and actually approve what we've already requested.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So through
Does that make
your
sense?
lordship, I just add a comment. The natural heritage system mapping again was connected with the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and it being that it's repealed and the new policies around natural heritage systems hasn't been tabled for public review. We don't even know if that'll the provincial natural heritage system policies will be reintroduced. I would speculate that probably not, because of the way the agricultural system mapping is no longer imposed. It's only recommended that we use a provincial agricultural system mapping in our local official plan. But the word in the new provincial draft document is encouraged that we do that. Doesn't say it's mandatory, right? What's mandatory is that we do have to map our prime agricultural areas, and then the applicable policies would apply to those areas. And the prime agricultural areas is defined as I mentioned earlier, all your Canada Land Inventory class 1 to 3 soil areas, plus any lands that are used in demonstrated farmland, like it's actually being used. So regardless of the soil, if it's in farm use, it's considered prime agricultural area, right? So yeah. I don't know if what we should in regard to the Kawartha naturally connected. Under the policy development, there was some pushback from the province on that. I think we ended up with somewhat of a modified provincial Kawartha naturally connected system. The province wouldn't budge on imposing their mapping in the local area. Now that that's all changed, I'm not sure how it's going to fall out, right? Because we don't know the status of this provincial natural heritage system.
I think it's worth mentioning that we don't want a broad brush.
Yeah, just final follow-up from me, I promise.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think, Perry, you brought up some great points as far as the unknown. There's still so much unknown. And I think, again, we're trying to send statements to them that these are concerns of us that they need to address for us, because we still don't know what all of this means to us. And to say no to something at this point, it could hurt us down the road. Just as is the same as saying yes to something at this point, because they haven't given us all the information. So I'd like something like that included in there, that it is a concern for us and how we're going to manage natural heritage issues down the road. So if we can include that in the recommendation, I'd be okay with that.
Have you got clarity as to what we're looking for?
Yeah, I believe so. So I think just with respect to that last comment, that council's supportive of removing the natural heritage mapping from any future versions of the provincial planning statement, because we don't know if it will be there or not be there. Yeah. Yeah. And instead, adopt the use of the Kawartha naturally connected mapping.
Right. And I just need clarity on the second paragraph. Is it in or out? I want to know what I'm voting on here.
I think it should be, I understand the rationale.
If it was left in there, I would like to add, I know what the proposed provincial policy statement says. It says on any agricultural land. I want it to be clear that we would not support having 3 severances on any prime agricultural land, despite what the proposed provincial policy statement says, to make it very clear. That's the way we feel.
Yeah, so maybe we could just add a little clause. So if we say we don't support that, the 3 severances on any agricultural lands, and then a little, Angie's great with wording, but kind of a little clause that says, because we understand that would include prime agricultural lands, which we don't think is appropriate. Yeah. Is that fair?
That makes it clear.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that, John?
I am, but what I'm not comfortable with is we were sent one version. We looked at a second version. Now, my third version looks like that right now, and I feel really uncomfortable voting on something that I don't really know what it is. I would feel much more comfortable allowing staff now to write another version, bring it back to us so we know precisely what we're voting on.
I've got something from Pear, but I just want to let you know that we have until June the 6th to get back to the province. That doesn't give us a lot of time.
I could read it out. I think we've captured the changes. If you're okay with that, we'll just take it slow. Okay. Okay. So the first paragraph is that we're receiving it for information.
Yeah.
Second, that Selwyn Township support and endorse the county staff report, PPW 2013-13, on the draft provincial planning statement as presented to County Council on May 17th, 2023, with the exception of the county staff position related to policy section 433. And that the Township of Selwyn advised the province that it does not support section 433 of the proposed PPS that would permit 3 severances on any agricultural lands, and in particular, prime agricultural lands. Okay. And that the Township of Selwyn advised the province that it does not support the provision, that it does support, it does support the provisions in the new PPS that provides municipalities the ability to conduct its own mapping exercise and using existing soil classifications to purpose non-productive lands that would support housing or severances for housing development. Are we good with that? So we added the section in there using existing soil classifications. Okay. Good. Okay. And that the province provide financial supports and other resources to conduct this mapping exercise. Following the results of the mapping exercise, that appropriate severance policies be developed by municipalities based on this mapping. So in other words, we'd have specific severance policies relative to the mapped area. And that Selwyn Township supports specific comments related to rural employment lands and water and wastewater capacity assessments as noted in the May 23rd, 2023 report. And then, sorry, the other one was, and now I've got to remember, and that Selwyn Township support removing natural heritage mapping from any future versions of the PPS and instead use Kawartha naturally connected mapping.
Everybody okay with that? Feel comfortable?
I just want to say, Angie, you're good.
Yeah. I did that all based on that too.
There you go. All right, so I need someone to move that. Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Thank you, through you. To pair, so all of this will take lots of time to pair, as you know, our new official plan has to be updated and everything else. If the severance policy goes through provincially, it becomes law at that time, from what I understand. What could somebody do to identify that their property would qualify? Can they do some kind of geological report for the township to say this land is class 4 and, you know, suitable? Because, you know, I can see this taking years to get policies in place and so on. And we're going to have people knocking on the door as soon as the policy becomes law. How can we bridge the process before we have all this mapping available by asking the applicant to provide proof that the land is not prime agriculture, I guess is, what could we do there, you think?
So through you, Your Worship, there is quite a bit of direction, even under the provincial, the policy planning statement, sorry, in providing some direction that, you know, any new lots, if it is passed the way it's proposed, that it be adjacent to existing non-agricultural land uses or consist primarily of lower priority agricultural lands. So I think we have to have a discussion with the county, whether, you know, it be some kind of scoped agricultural assessment we would ask for from like, say, a planning consultant. There's a number of those in the area that could assist with developing such a brief in support of a consent application if that was deemed to be necessary. The other difficulty I would have is we'd have to see this policy document would obviously come into effect before our official plan comes into effect. It may actually trigger the need for site-specific official plan amendments until our official plan is completely amended, right?
Yeah.
In line with the current document when it comes into effect.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It possibly could be that a farmer could do a soil evaluation too.
To your question, Your Worship, yeah, certainly an agricultural assessment may include some kind of soils analysis, right? The scope of the document, I think we need to talk with the county planning department as to how we would, you know, what we would recommend being included in one of these assessments, right?
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda, which is Lily Morrow.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today, I'm bringing forward a report on a feasibility study for a home energy loan program, asking that Council receive the report for information and also endorse the township to partner with the Clean Air Partnership and Grey County to submit an application for funding to complete a feasibility study. I'm going to briefly summarize my report. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities currently has funding for municipalities to explore the development of a home energy loan program. Completing a feasibility study is a prerequisite to applying for capital funding to finance the program. Home energy loan programs are often developed by municipalities to provide loans to homeowners to complete energy efficiency upgrades. These programs typically offer loans for energy efficiency. However, they can also be used to provide loans for other climate change related upgrades, such as flood proofing. There are different financial mechanisms used to implement these programs. However, the loans are commonly tied to the property and repaid through property tax bills. Implementing an energy retrofit program is a strategy in the township's climate change action plan, and implementing a program like this would improve the energy efficiency of homes in the township, thereby helping us to reduce our community's greenhouse gas emissions. Municipalities are starting to work together to complete these feasibility studies, as this can streamline the process and lead to cost savings and efficiencies. Working together can also lead to the development of partnerships that could support the actual implementation of a home energy loan program, such as attracting a third-party organization that would help administer the program on behalf of the municipalities. The FCM funding is first come, first serve, and given the interest in the program, the township did begin to explore partnerships and opportunities to complete the feasibility study. Through that, we became aware of an opportunity to partner with the Clean Air Partnership, which is a charitable environmental organization that is working with municipalities to complete these studies. The township has the opportunity to partner with the Clean Air Partnership as well as Grey County to submit an application for funding to complete the feasibility study. The Clean Air Partnership would be the lead applicant, and they would also oversee the feasibility study if the funding application was successful. The funding application is currently being finalized, and the township does have the opportunity to participate pending endorsement from council. So that's all I'll say in regards to the report. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Lily? Deputy Mayor Blunt.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks for the report. It's, I think anything we can do to help improve energy use and so on is important. Just maybe a question through Lane. The loans obviously go on the tax bill. Would they be assessed at a current interest rate? Would it be like a mortgage type document, 5 years, payments each month? And obviously if the house is sold, it's repaid like any other. You'd be in a second position on a mortgage, obviously.
Yeah, I would think it would be through you, Madam Mayor, I would think it would be very much like a local improvement or a special charge. So when we put it on the roll and it definitely transfers over. So there's always that issue at the ownership change time that we make the solicitor or the purchaser aware of it. And then there's always that negotiation that goes on, whether it carries on or whether it's then factored into the purchase price and paid out outright. And definitely anything that I've been involved in, when we put that on a roll, there's always some interest component involved.
So again, just to follow up through you, Mayor, again. So there isn't like a monthly interest payment. It's if they borrow 10,000, the 10,000 stays on their account until the property's sold, or are we asking for a monthly payment?
Yes. Yeah. So once again, if it is similar to a local or a special charge, it is amortized over, say, a 10-year period, and there is an annual payment that comes off on the taxation, okay. And so it does pay it down over a period of time, but that annual payment is a fixed number, and so over time you actually pay less interest and more principal over those 10 years.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm looking for someone to move it. Councillor Boyko, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black. All in favor? Thanks, carried. Thank you. We're moving on to consent items. Is there anything anyone wants pulled? Seeing none, I need someone to move the consent items. Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Koulis. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Is there any other new and unfinished business? Angie.
Just wanted to note that at the AMO conference, there is a deadline if there was a request for a delegation to a ministry. The due date is June the 9th. So if there was any particular topic that council wanted to bring forward to a minister, I believe Mary's the only one that's attending AMO. So I'm not even sure if Mary really wants to take that role on either, but just wanted to make sure that that council was aware.
Yeah, I don't see anything right now. So okay. You're off the hook.
If there's anything that comes up, just let us know. We have our June 6th meeting, so we could bring something forward then.
Okay. If
I could an answer to that, and I don't know, Mary, if you feel comfortable about this, but at the last Roma conference, our council our township made a delegation to Ontario Hydro. which talked about the number of blackouts, and the subsequent to that, we've had more blackouts, and I haven't heard back
Have
from
you?
Ontario Hydro what has been done in response to our. So,
Maybe Angie, do you have an answer?
Well, we've had scheduled hydro disruptions for repair.
We haven't had blackouts.
I don't know if we've had any
No.
blackouts.
okay, but
Yeah.
there hasn't been any response back.
Yeah, in terms of a response from Hydro, no, we haven't had an update. So we could request an update from Hydro directly.
That would be great.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not something that Mary would need to make a delegation, but it certainly could. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And that was offered at Roma. Hydro doesn't normally do those kind of things. Is that correct? So it's not a given that they would even offer to accept delegations at AMO. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So is there any other announcements? Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So Selwyn Township should be very proud of a resident, J.R. Avon, who plays for the Peterborough Petes, and he is when he's introduced as from Selwyn Township. So it's fantastic, and I'm very proud whenever I hear that, because a lot of kids would say they're from Peterborough and not Selwyn Township. So I'd like to congratulate through council and through staff the Peterborough Petes on making it to the Memorial Cup. And again, very proud of resident J.R. Avon representing Selwyn Township at the Memorial Cup.
Excellent. Is there an opportunity to send a letter to the Petes from the township?
You could pass a motion to do that.
Yeah. Would you like to do that?
I'll make a motion congratulating them and yeah.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we have bylaws, 2023-037 zoning bylaw, removal of holding for 1291 Man Road, and 2023-038 refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw. I need someone to move that. Moved by Councillor Kula, seconded by Councillor Henry. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councillor Boyko. All in favor? That's carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Boyko. All in favor? That's confirmed. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Great meeting, Mayor.
Yeah.